Wow, it's so nice. So nice.
Only reason I'm not eating
guys.
cookies because I fast, but I really want to eat a cookie.
Sorry, yeah, after the fast is over.
I made him smell it.
Oh, it smells so good.
All right. Hey guys, my name's Cody. I am the owner and founder of Warmly Cookies based here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm kind of interested in giving this presentation today as more of like a introduction to Warmly, kind of present kind of an open course of what we're dealing with at Warmly, what we're kind of going through at Warmly. For those of you guys that were maybe here in February, I think it was right when 1MillionCups was getting started back up, I had actually presented this concept and this idea of Warmly, and so since then it's been about since February, so like 8 months now of running this business from the ground up. And so throughout this, I'm going to give you some just information, some background, how we got there, kind of how it started, where we're at currently, and where I'm expecting it to go. And would love any questions and things like that. I think that the question format is really the most helpful in like how we define this and how we figure this thing out. And for my sake, and as well as just getting like challenged in terms of defending Warmly in this case, or maybe like expanding my knowledge on different avenues that we could go. So yeah, Warmly is a cookie company, a cookie delivery company that leverages hospitable automations to create an event for customers, invoking nostalgia, comfort, and excitement with an indulgent, warm cookie. For those of you guys that have already tried them in the back, they might still have been warm when you tried them, but there's still some in the back to try afterwards. But the cookie product itself is back there to try. But Warmly operates a little bit differently as well, where it actually has an SMS-based text messaging platform that we use to notify our customers, and I'll explain on that in a second. Warmly was kind of inspired though by another operation that I run here in Columbus called Rhyme Time Pops. It's a popsicle company. We have a popsicle truck. And what we used to do throughout COVID, at least specifically, we operated our popsicle truck a little bit more heavily, and we would take it to neighborhoods, and we would show up in neighborhoods. Let's say, for example, Dublin would ask us to come out, and we would show up to that neighborhood from 4 to 6 p.m., and very few people would show up. And we would post about it on Instagram. We would send out messages. The community person would say that they would tell all the neighbors, and nobody would show up. And it wasn't until like after we would leave the event that customers would say, oh, we missed you, or oh, we want you to come back to Dublin, or X, Y, and Z. And so we had realized that there had been a couple of different problems, such as that social media and that word of mouth were a little unreliable in getting our message across of when we were going to be available in their neighborhood as an ice cream truck or as a popsicle truck. And another problem that had really inspired me for a long time was starting Rhyme Time, and now currently in Warmly, is that the ice cream truck experience itself hasn't just changed from the ice cream truck experience that you might know positively or negatively, however that looks like. So that experience in of itself hasn't really changed and hasn't really modernized to the fingertip access. So how Warmly works itself. What you do if you're interested in becoming a customer of Warmly's or maybe a subscriber of Warmly's, if you go to our website at warmlycookies.com, you scroll to the bottom, you sign up with your phone number, your name, and your zip code. Phone numbers, name, zip code, and you scroll to the bottom, you'll be added to our list. Once we're available in your area, we'll send you a text message on the day of asking if you're interested in cookies for delivery later that night. So we send you a text in the morning asking if you're interested in cookies later that night. If you're interested in cookies, you go on our website, we send you a link, you have the opportunity to purchase cookies. Once we have all the cookies that people purchase, we make them all, bake them all fresh, and deliver them to your door warm later that evening. The concept behind Warmly is meant to kind of invoke this nostalgia and invoke this kind of like warmness, not only with the cookie, but just kind of like this we're thinking about you approach. And so that's how we're kind of positioning the brand, is trying to position it as like this hospitable, thoughtful, we're taking care of you while you're kind of taking care of yourself approach. And so that's how at least at the moment we're setting out to start with the branding of Warmly, hence the name Warmly with a comma. It's kind of meant to invoke some of this, what would be received in a letter that's signed off with Warmly. We kind of want to exist as what's written in that letter. Our name is just Warmly. Even though we presented on this about 8 months ago at this point, Warmly's been in conception for about 3 years leading up to this. And so I think with a lot of people's ideas and a lot of people's businesses as well, it wasn't just like a little spark and then we had a business. In this case, back in July is kind of some of the events that I was talking about. We were taking the truck around neighborhoods, discovering some of the problem that existed. In the meantime, from July and actually previous to 2021, but specifically in 2021, I had been really testing a lot of cookie recipes and trying to find a cookie recipe that really like fit with what I was going for. I'm a very much like a mood type of person, and I like to set a nice mood and have all the pieces that kind of fit in that right mood. And so when it was time to like sit down and watch a movie at night, and maybe you light a candle or you have a fireplace on and you're watching a movie and you've got a girlfriend and you want like a really nice cookie, I couldn't find that cookie. And so that was kind of what I was going for, was something that was like really fit kind of the right cookie. And so in that meantime, we'd been developing a lot of the cookies, specifically to fit this kind of like warm, gooey, rich, decadent style dessert type of cookie that's a little bit different than the fatter, thick, white sugar style cookies that exist. In June 2022, I specifically remember drafting up the business concept itself. So in June of 2022, I was sitting in the back of the popsicle truck at an event that we weren't selling that many popsicles at, to be honest. And I remember writing up all of the text messages, how I believed the text message conversation would go, and kind of like how we would kind of surprise customers with text messages and then carry them through this relationship until we delivered cookies to their doorstep. And that's kind of where, in my opinion, that the business concept of itself, of like how does this thing actually make money and what does we actually sell, really kind of started to come to life. In November 2022, I specifically also remember the moment in which we came up with the name Warmly. I'd been working and developing another product for another person here in town, and we were just driving down, and I was on the phone with him talking about this cookie concept that I had and couldn't come up with a name, and I couldn't remember exactly the names that I was presenting to him, and he's like, "It sounds like Warmly." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know, maybe." And then I sat and thought about it, and I called my girlfriend, and we were talking, and I was just like, "I think that's the name of the cookie company." And really landed on Warmly, and then signing it off with a comma, and yada, 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 got to Warmly. Which leads us to now, February, we presented the business. And this is where I think things get a little bit more exciting in terms of where we've been going from here. So as some of you guys might have been there in February when we presented this business, it was literally just an idea. There was no backbones to it at the time. There was really nothing. The night before, I made some of the presentation. I built some of the database kind of the week of, so that I could have a website to launch this thing, and we presented it in February. After February took place, we did a couple, just to test the MVP and how Warmly would exist. We did a lot of friends and family drops, so we asked friends for their phone numbers, asked them to sign up, go through our database, and see if our automations would work specifically, so we could send people a text message to really test this thing out. I feel like we got really fortunate, and this is very much like a strike of luck in our case. But within a couple weeks, we already had, probably like 300 subscribers up until this point, or 300 people listed on our database. 614 Now found us really quickly and posted an article about a cookie delivery service, our cookie delivery service here in town, which immediately gave us around 1,200 signups. I specifically remember the morning of, it was a Monday morning, they sent out an email, it was headlined with Warmly, a new cookie delivery business or something like that. That was in everybody's email that subscribed to 614 Now. And immediately it kind of like broke some of our systems and our automations as people were just constantly signing up. And it was for a whole entire day that it was like every hour we'd get 100 people signed up from seeing the thing. So really, really great. And that exact weekend we actually did another drop, kind of our first not friends and family drop, or not exclusive to friends and family. It was our first like, well, we're just texting a bunch of random people and let's see how it works. And it sold out immediately. We didn't also have as many orders as we possibly could, but it sold out immediately. And we had to text everybody and just say, "Oh, so sorry, we're already sold out." But it was within like 9 or 10 minutes, I think, that we sold out of the cookies. So and then comes August. I think something I feel really proud of is we just celebrated National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. Sorry, probably the only product that we sell is chocolate chip cookies and cold milk also. So we don't sell any flavored cookies or any other cookies. We only sell a chocolate chip cookie and milk. And so for National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day, we kind of did a whole social media campaign. We organized and orchestrated trying to get more subscribers onto our list while also building a little bit of hype around this. So that felt like a significant moment in this. And then last but least, I feel probably a really proud moment for me as a food developer and just interested in cookies is we developed the gluten-free cookie. There's an option up there if you guys would like to try it. I believe it nearly mimics, if not is a little bit more impressive than the regular version or the signature version of Warmly cookies. So if you're interested in trying it and if you are gluten-free, I highly suggest it. And if you know anybody that's gluten-free, I suggest it. Yeah, so here's a little bit of interesting data in terms of, so before we get to maybe some of the grind of Warmly and stuff, this is some of the straight facts of what we've been doing and how we've been existing as Warmly. Since the startup, we've sold about 5,500 cookies in total. We have over 2,800 people currently signed up on our list since inception to now. The quickest sellout we've had is 40 orders in 18 minutes. That same day, was actually our highest selling day too, so we did incorporate adding a few more orders available. But 40 is what we consider like our sellout number. So that was the fastest sellout that we've had. We visited 35 unique zip codes around Columbus. There are, I think, 42 zip codes in Columbus, sorry, 52 zip codes within Columbus that are also kind of like dip into Delaware County too. But so far we visited around 35, 36 of them. We've made $25,000 in selling the cookies so far, just from cookie revenue. And then last, we have 21 5-star Google reviews. Some of those are me giving Google reviews. Not all of them though, but a lot of customers organically do give us Google reviews. I did give a Google review. I said, I really like the cookies. And here's kind of the honest expectations. I think when everybody goes and starts a business, you think like, oh man, everybody's gonna love this thing. It's gonna be so simple and yada yada yada. And I don't think I knew that it was gonna be simple, but I do think I inflated how easy some things might be. So in the left column are some of the expectations I had going into this business and starting it, and some of the challenges that we faced. First, in the top one, I'll just kind of go through them really quickly. Is that the cookie recipe would be really scalable. And the cookie recipe is written so that it is really scalable. We can make up to 200,000 cookies if we want to, but I don't know that I really took into full account as to the scale of the equipment itself. So how does a mixer change? How does the commercial oven, which really is much different than a home oven, how does it impact the cookie itself, and how does it change the cookie that we developed? Yada, yada, yada. So that's a big challenge that we're facing, and that we still currently are facing some consistency issues. Another one is that I thought that the delivery process would be repeatable, as in I thought it would be pretty simple to just pick up and have every time we just do a new delivery. Oh, sorry. I meant that we would be able to go downtown, specifically deliver downtown. When I first had this idea, it was that we could go to a downtown apartment complex, we would sell 40 orders, we would just like door ding every single one and make a bunch of money and walk out. And I don't know that even yet we've sold like 2 orders in the same apartment building. So it hasn't quite worked that way, but I think the biggest difficulty is delivering downtown specifically versus going to Dublin, versus going to Bexley where there's gates on communities that you don't have a passcode to. So there's like a lot of different things that we haven't quite figured out logistically. Next is that probably the one that I thought was the most easiest was that the delivery driver would be repeatable or easily hireable. With their gig economy already existing, with delivery drivers, I figured we could plug and play them into our system. And we kind of figured out that our Warmly delivery process is a little bit more exclusive and just a little bit more unique to the process, and a really important part of our brand and how we deliver the cookies and distribute them. Big struggle. The second one is probably another tricky one that we're really facing right now, which is how many orders do we sell? Right now we're texting 150, 200 people and we sell 40 orders. The difficulty is like what happens when we text 2,000 people? How many orders do we sell? How many customers do we disappoint? Where do we wage that FOMO versus like keeping people happy with FOMO. And so obviously there's customers already sending us messages. We just received a message this week that said, I clicked on the link. It was 2 hours after we had sent the text message. All the cookies were sold out. A guy sent us an email really quick that said, I clicked the link from your business and it says sold out, what gives? And it's like, okay, so we're getting those messages pretty consistently already with only texting so many people. What happens when we text a lot more people? How do we maintain that interest in selling cookies? Last is that there's definitely been a challenge serving all the communities around Columbus. Obviously some places are maybe more our customer than other places, but that doesn't mean customers exist in smaller portions in other places. And so we have a lot of interest currently from customers in Canal Winchester to go down to Canal Winchester, but there's only like 30 people on the list. But a lot of Canal Winchester people blow us up on Instagram saying, when are you coming to Canal Winchester, blah, 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 blah. When Upper Arlington itself, for example, has 150 people on one list. And so it makes it just a little bit more challenging to be able to serve those places, while also, in comparison, we've found that when you go to neighborhoods, the best way for us to gain new subscribers, as opposed to Instagram, as opposed to any of our other marketing at the moment, is word of mouth. So when we go to Upper Arlington, the next morning we wake up and we have 10 to 15 new people from Upper Arlington on the list. And so it really is kind of this catch-22 of like, we need to go to Canal Winchester, but it makes more sense to go to Upper Arlington at the moment, or whatever that looks like. So balancing that out is a bit of a challenge. Where do we go from here? This is just kind of my idea in terms of what was Warmly started as and where do we hope it goes. I believe that there's kind of 3 revenue streams that are kind of interesting opportunities for Warmly to take hold of in the future. First of which is that can we just have, just like the ice cream truck experience, can we have little mini Warmlys all over the country using our system, operating in the same way, and delivering and distributing a product similarly to how we're delivering it here in Columbus. Is it best for us to just continue with the CRM that we're developing and maybe license this out to other companies that want to run their products with our CRM and our hospitality for the most part? I don't know. As a SaaS product or as licensed as maybe an app on Shopify could be interesting. And then finally, could we just co-pack Warmly cookies as to being a CPG product to send into grocery stores as frozen cookie balls, or for people to take home and we ship frozen cookie balls and it becomes a take and bake style company as opposed to maybe delivering fresh cookies at a door. So these are just a couple ideas that I've had when starting Warmly in terms of like where we go. I would love any of you guys' input, and if you guys have any questions about the process, specifically on Warmly or where we go, and also if there's any questions on like the inner workings, I'm happy to share in terms of like how do we break this thing down and figure this thing out. So cool. Thanks, guys.
I can't wait till noon. I will be eating the cookie then, just so you know.
Yeah, sweet.
All right, this is the talking stick. I'm gonna walk around with it, and there you go.
Have you thought about B2B in the sense of like what you're doing is creating an event that's gonna make everybody rush to a spot? So like you could go to I'm thinking of the boba tea place by my house, like.
Yeah, we've thought of this idea that of like having another truck actually, and what the truck would do is like, let's say we're going to Dublin tonight, and we would take the truck to Dublin, park it in someplace central-ish, and then we would still offer text message cookies out, and we would still offer the 40 deliveries or however many we have, but we'd also just say like, oh, if you missed the order to get it to your doorstep, the truck will be here baking them fresh as well. And so we have thought of that idea, thought about passing it up, little pop-ups like that, and also thought of like B2B catering. And we kind of have some like unique ideas in terms of how we can get different apartment complexes to let their renters become our users and our subscribers. But we haven't quite figured out all the inner workings behind that stuff yet. But yeah, that's been something we've been kind of interested, even in terms of just like offering or having Warmly cookies at a coffee shop or whatever it might be.
My thought is you could probably get businesses to pay you to come.
Yeah, the idea, so I'll expand further on like the apartment complex. The apartment complex idea is, we already do this with Rhyme Time, for example, is we go and we offer popsicles at their pool party at an apartment complex. What we could do in this case is we would basically just say, we'll sell all your customers or your renters the same offering, but for half the price, if you just send out a mass email to all of them, and we'll do a designated drop specifically for your apartment complex. So we'll just say on Monday night, on the nights that we're a little bit slower, if, let's say the LC, for example, if the LC is offering to share their list, we'll just steeply discount cookies because it ultimately makes our process a lot more efficient. And maybe we can co-brand it to some degree of like Happy Merry Christmas to our residents or something, to gain more subscribers as well. And then in the future, when we come back to that area, we have subscribers on the list.
Yeah, so I listened to you the last time that you came through, signed up for the text messages, got a text message, ordered cookies, got them delivered to my door. Awesome experience. I really enjoyed that. I really like the use of the SMS too. I think that that's an excellent way of tackling the problem of like, yeah, social media is not reliable. when you had your list of like, where do we go from here, the things that we're thinking about doing, I see all of those working literally in that order as a way to potentially grow, starting out with franchising, but maybe even just doing like a pop-up in Cleveland or Cincinnati or, you know, even maybe Dayton, who knows, something close by where you work with media, you work with influencers in that space to activate people ahead of time. And so you're still doing it and you're kind of testing the waters, and then maybe there's a connection that's made and somebody's like, hey, I would really like to operate this in Cincinnati for you. I could see that really helping expand your physical footprint in different cities for a little while. Regarding the Canal Winchester issue, I'm also wondering, again, logistically on the back end, I don't know necessarily everything that's going on, but is it possible to do like a connecting city on the way to Canal Winchester and include that in as like we'll do this city plus Canal Winchester for the night?
Yeah, you figured it out. That's kind of what we do, is like when North Linden, for example, is like 432-119 or something like that, 432-1919. We include that in Worthington sometimes, and then we include it in Clintonville sometimes, because we're kind of there and we get like, 4 orders from it. So maybe if we're not all the way full out of orders, we haven't sold out completely yet, we will send a text message out to that location as well. For some reason, just that southeast portion of Columbus, the Reynoldsburg, Pickerington, Canal, Winchester, all have like not that many people on the list. I think it's just like I don't really know how that works in Columbus. But that's just, it's worth us doing. It's just hard currently in figuring out our rotation. Yeah. And it's something we'll do, I think, we're going to have to do.
It might just be a matter of doing some targeted ads specifically for those areas to sign up first, and increasing that awareness in those areas first.
Yeah, I do know for interest of like how Crumble spreads for the most part is Crumble goes and can establish new franchises, or at least when they were starting, they were able to establish new franchises in places where they were geo-tracking people from searching and people ordering their cookies. And so you would get all this information when customers would order your cookies, that you say, oh, okay, cool, we're getting a lot of interest here in the Midwest in these cities with this customer base, and that's where Crumble opens up their franchise location. So we could do something very similar, I think.
So, I mean, after having consumed a cookie, they don't taste cheap. So I'm just curious what the price point is and also what the margins are.
The cookie is well within like food cost premises. It's more like it's not cheap by any means. I would say that the thing that makes our cookie unique as opposed to other cookies is that there's a process that goes into making our cookies that's a little bit different and much more timely than you would take to, like when you read those recipes online and it's like, it only takes 30 minutes, but age the steak for 3 days and do all these things. It's like they didn't tell you all that part. It's the same way with the cookies. Is like we are going through all the processes of like the most painstaking cookie recipe. We're just doing it all for you and delivering it to your door. And so we recognize that it's more of a luxury. We're selling it at maybe not a luxury price point. We're selling it at a higher price point. For those of you guys interested, we deliver only a 4-pack of cookies for $18. That includes delivery to your door. It's technically actually average compared to other cookie delivery services here in Columbus. It's a totally normal price, but it can definitely appear as, it's definitely more expensive than you making them at your house. And so just like with most other desserts as well, to answer the other half of the question, it's well within the cost, and it's well within like usual means of typical profit margins to make off of desserts, which are usually pretty high, usually within like the 70 plus range for desserts.
I heard you speak a lot about hospitality as a differentiator for you guys. As a customer, like what are all the touch points where I can see hospitality? Yeah,
this is where I think this is where I want to expand upon it further in terms of, so the current touch points we have are shooting you a text messaging and really trying to like have a voice that is just like kind for the most part is really important, I think, to be really like transparent and really kind throughout the process. Maybe not necessarily apologetic, but understanding of the customer in how we speak and how we approach them and selling cookies and things like that. So the current touch points are we shoot them a text when they order a cookie, or shoot everybody a text. When you order a cookie, you receive a thank you text message, and we just say, thank you for ordering cookies, yada, yada, yada. Set the scene for the evening or something like that. I forget what the text actually says, and it says we'll update you soon with an order ETA. And then around an hour and a half before we start deliveries, we send everybody a text message that ordered that night with an estimated time of when they should expect their cookies. We're usually within a couple minutes of that actual delivery time. So each customer would receive a message that says, hey, Alex, expect warm cookies on your doorstep at 7:42. Tonight, get cozy, have a good evening, warmly, comma. And then we may send some other notes. I think a couple other touch points that would be really important as we grow as a brand specifically would be to help encourage furthering that taking care of yourself mentality. So maybe when a customer orders, maybe what we do is we send them a link instead that would have some ideas or some ways to like cozy up your evening, because we're trying to make this more somewhat similar to an event of sorts. And I think that it's been approached as an event. I think a lot of customers have already felt like this is an event to them and their kids, that they receive the text in the morning, they get really excited, they had the opportunity to purchase cookies, they're waiting all day until their cookies are gonna come, so they get all their chores done ahead of time, they bribe their kids to get their chores done ahead of time because cookies are coming later that evening. And so I think we can just continue to play on how do we make that event happen. I don't know if we send, like I said, I don't know if we send out Netflix suggestions or whatever it is, but I think there's a lot of ways that we can do to be like, if your evening isn't cozy enough, well, here, let's help. Something like that, I think.
Hey, I'm just curious how the holidays go for Warmly.
We've never done any holidays, and so part of the idea behind this, quite frankly, was that Rhyme Time, we typically operate for about 4 months of the year. Rhyme Time is a unique entity in that it cash flows a significant amount in the summertime because it's a summertime company, and then we basically just shut it down and we put it in a hibernation, and then we just float most of the money until we open up the next season. And what we've sort of found with that, and maybe it's just jealousy to be honest, is a lot of my friends that own other companies, they're running through holidays and they're doing all these things while I'm just kind of like sitting at home, which is nice, but also like, oh man, we could be doing stuff in the holidays. It's like such an important time and like feels really relevant to me in terms of coziness and setting up a good vibe. And so I don't really know what we're gonna do yet. I've really been like trying to brainstorm. We were actually just, the girl behind you helps out making the cookies. She's a phenomenal baker here in town. And we were just talking about yesterday, like how we not take advantage of, but like how do we help celebrate Thanksgiving or X, Y, and Z? Whether that means we operate and sell some different products. I tried to start a company a couple years ago, or thought of an idea a couple years ago called 99 Pies, where we'd sell pies during the holidays. And our dad's a pie baker. And so maybe we sell pies or something like that. I don't really know yet, but we're trying to figure that out, how the holidays are gonna go. Trying.
So yeah, this thing is definitely gonna blow up even more. So I'm curious, if you haven't already, when do you start thinking about trademarks, protecting the IP? Have you already done some due diligence on the name and like what else is out there as far as other companies? Yeah,
I've done some due diligence on the name. There is a company that has a name, it's Warmly AI. It's a, do you know what it is? It's like a HR AI or something like that. And I mean, they made a ton of money, like raised a lot of money, so we probably screwed on the name maybe, I don't know. But I think we can still use the name for a food business. I think if it's a different entity. The comma. I think theirs has a comma. I think theirs has a comma too, to be honest. I think theirs is Warmly comma as well, honestly. Didn't even know about it until we said this is gonna be our name. I actually would love some information in terms of, what do we do? Is that like the next step? Should we get some pay for something, IP or trademark, or I don't really know, I guess. So I'm interested in this community telling me what I need to do.
Cool. I'm also gonna put a different QR code up on screen, because now you have 22 five-star Google reviews.
Oh, thanks.
So I'll get this QR code up here, and then you guys can scan it that have had the cookie.
Wow, that's really nice.
And drop another review. Were there any other questions?
Questions, remarks?
The QR code that I tried to do from the screen wasn't working.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
It was janky. I'm gonna fix it.
Just curious, so you actually bake cookies in a truck? Or do
No.
how do you keep them warm? And
Yeah, we have
what's the
a-
secret sauce here?
There is some secret sauce. We have a production facility where we make all the popsicles, actually. And so we just have flipped the kitchen from being a popsicle kitchen to now a cookie kitchen. We just bought an oven, and it's chilling in the popsicle kitchen. And we have a mixer now in there too. So most of the popsicle equipment is shoved off to the side, and the cookie equipment exists in the kitchen now. What's the secret sauce?
How do you deliver them warm?
We have a warmer in the vehicle as well to help keep them warm throughout the delivery. So that's part of the process, is that we just deliver all the cookies. We continue to warm them up and make sure that they stay warm so that the customer receives them warm.
Sharing the cookies with ice cream trucks and other delivery services?
Yeah, it would be awesome. Yeah, and I think that there's that opportunity for sure in terms of, we've tested ice cream sandwiches this summer actually, and we put them on the popsicle truck. And that was cool, but yeah, I would like to be able to do some more of that in the future. Oh, we got some more questions, I see. Thanks, guys.
All right, we got a couple more questions.
I guess this one's kind of more of an idea, especially around the holidays and the wintertime, and potentially converting or wrapping or having something fun with the Rhyme Time truck and taking that out instead to holiday markets. I think, warm cookies during the holiday market season. I know German Village has German Village Lights at the beginning of December, and that's a huge one where a lot of people come out to. Could be an awesome opportunity to also get in front of more people, get more people to sign up, while also, having that experience of, buying one warm cookie or a pack to go home as well could be an opportunity.
Yeah, we were just literally talking about that exact idea of kind of needing to balance. Like, to be frank, I just didn't want to go to that many more events similar to how we do it with Rhyme Time. It's just like all summer we just go to events, and you're kind of really relying on, like, some events you have expectations to make X amount of money, and then you walk away with a little X amount of money, and it's harder to do some predictions. In this case, though, I think it's really important for us to, like, now speaking to you guys, maybe you guys joined the list, maybe you didn't join the list, but this is a much easier way for us to join the list, is by one of us talking about our own business. And the secondary thing that's been really challenging our business is to receive feedback. And so I'd love to talk to you, because you've ordered our product and went through the experience, but I send out like 6 to 8 pretty personalized feedback emails after the experience, and we don't get very much. And so unlike Rhyme Time, where a customer orders our popsicle, licks it, and is like, "This is delicious," or they're like, "Oh, I hated it," or something like that, nobody does that. But you get their first impression and their reaction from it, and they're able to come back and be like, "Oh, we really loved the passion fruit lemonade," or "Oh, X, Y, and Z." We don't get any of that with Warmly, unless it's like a 5-star review. We have gotten a couple people at the very beginning when we had some pretty big consistency issues reach out, but other than that, it's like we're not getting much feedback on, like, how did you like the service? What would you like to see different? Or so.
Have you tried incentives for that? Like when your next delivery or stuff like that?
Yeah, it does include incentives. It includes 50% off, and I actually think it includes, if you fill out, we have like a 9-question questionnaire that's pretty simple of like, did you like it? What would you change? You don't have to answer any of it. You just put your name in, and you receive a free box of cookies. And still people haven't done it yet, so.
Okay, just a couple quick marketing questions. One is, do you have a slogan, tagline that kind of talks about the value proposition, or at least infuses some ideas into it?
Yeah, the only slogan we have is at the bottom of the website. It just says "warm cookies delivered to your doorstep." Yeah. That's just kind of like the quick grab of sort of what we do, which is we're a warm cookie delivery company delivered to your doorstep.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. It would be, I think, cooler if also you had a slogan or a tagline that kind of set up what the experience of Warmly provides.
Yeah, do you have an example that feels interesting to you?
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you a cookie.
57. $200 an hour is what it goes for right now. But like the thing is, it's just a slow something that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like doing like a cookie event, a date or something like that, a nightly cookie event, or you're saying like a slogan like that more entices the actual.
No, it's something that in your general marketing and positioning of the business that sets up what the experience is going to be for the consumer. You know, why should I want this service? Why should Warmly is cool, but it kind of doesn't. It's almost like Warmly supposes there's something else.
Yeah.
So like you could kind of describe in a slogan or a tagline what the experience, the expected experience would be. So that's one thing you might consider.
Idea.
The other thing is that how will you, or have you planned for, or are you able to deal with, because competition, somebody that comes into the market that does what you do?
Yeah, I think that we could deal with competition on the second point. Just in terms of the way that we've built this feels pretty unique to us. I think somebody else could build something pretty similar, but I think with my experience in terms of just my general interest in providing a hospitable environment, and I don't think that a business should rely on like my talent or my interest specifically, but I do feel that we've set ourselves a little bit uniquely apart that I'm sure somebody else could copy or replicate it pretty easily, but I do think where we're going long term and broadly, that we kind of have the expertise in how we make this work and keep this running. And so anybody can run a warm cookie business. Cookie businesses aren't hard. If you search like a business to start, lemonade and cookies are probably like one of the first ones. And so I don't disagree with that at all. I just think that trying to incorporate this hospitableness and really specific to the marketing of how we approach our customer and yada, 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 is hopefully going to be kind of unique to us and how we differentiate ourselves.
Very cool. Thank you. I kind of wanted to like piggyback off the slogan point. I think what I like about Warmly in general and just Warmly, I think what Cody's done here is created a brand that is a little bit mysterious. And you have to do a little bit of digging to figure out what it is. And I think that brings that intimacy and kind of personal connection where you think of any relationship you've started, the cool, exciting, mysterious part is in the beginning. And it just keeps you talking about the conversation. So when we do Warmly, it kind of is whatever you want it to be. I mean, ultimately, you scroll to the bottom of the website, you see warm cookies delivered to your door, and that is the experience. But keeping the conversation of what is Warmly to me or what is Warmly to the customer, I think is very interesting, which I don't think the brand has to be completely straightforward, but I like the part where it is a little bit mysterious, and you do have to keep the conversation going of what is Warmly.
I get that. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something that we have to expand upon. I think now we're in this kind of like vein of, that's like really well said. We're in this vein of mysterious is cool for a good while, and we can kind of run on mysteriousness for a long time, but it will eventually transition, hopefully throughout like further touches of our brand, through our branding, through our messaging, through our emailing, whatever that looks like, to really start to describe a little bit more as to what Warmly does, because it can only be so mysterious for so long. And the reason it's honestly so mysterious for now is because nobody's had the time to add any more personalized touches, like an about page to the website or anything like that. So there are some like mysterious points, but I do think that it's kind of cool for now, based on exactly what Riley had suggested and said, is kind of, it is what it is to some people, and we hope that we're encouraging this like thoughtfulness and Warmly aspect to their delivery and the whole event.
Okay, unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. We're hitting our time limit. You guys can kind of finish talking here in the room. I want to just make a statement, and then we have our general question. Quickly, I say when I think of fundraising, I don't know why, but I think of Girl Scouts and little kids setting up delivery of warm cookies seems like that would fit. I would order that from a child more than a Girl Scout cookie. I don't know if you need more than that. And then also, like, I think of, when I first heard delivery of cookies, I was like, wow, I've never heard of that. So automatically I think of delivery of other stuff, and can you get on Uber apps? Can you get on other things that are already just delivering stuff, and people are used to that. So with that said, there's...
Oh, can I touch on that really fast? So this idea might be like 3 years in the working, but it's probably been a long time in terms of developing a product that would match. And I have a friend of mine, long story short, that has a mom's fundraiser company, and he makes a lot of money. And essentially he does something that I was interested in the cookies when I first started a long time ago with the cookie company, which is he just goes to the school ahead of time. He takes orders for mums, goes to the farmer and says, this is how many mums I need you to make, and I need you to deliver them on this day to this school. And then he shows up at that school, collects the money, parents pick up the mums, and he goes home, and he does it twice a year. And so it was the same idea as, like, could we go and pre-sell cookies maybe for, at the time it was like more of like a Santa's thing, or kind of Market Day, if you guys remember Market Day back in the day, of where we could maybe pre-order cookies, and we'd go back to the kitchen and be like, all right, cool, we need to make 20,000 cookie balls or something like that, and we deliver them on that day right around Christmas or something. And so that was actually like some of the very, very idea. I still think it plays now, and maybe the brand leans that way. I think we can go any direction, but yeah, fundraising is a huge entity if people are interested in that. It's cool.
And lastly, what can we do for you?
Well, this is really constructive in general. I was really excited to be able to come up here and present, because I think the questions are probably the most helpful aspect of this. I think, honestly, genuinely some feedback in terms of if you've tried our service, some feedback of touch points that you would like to see. I think there's a lot of really cool opportunity in terms of marketing and how we want to choose to market this company, because I feel strongly that we're more of an event company to some degree than we are maybe just strictly a cookie company. And so I think if we position ourselves as an event company, that we have a lot more opportunity to exist a little bit further and more impactfully to customers. I think last is we made, you see in 6 months we made $25,000, which is cool, or 8 months, $25,000, which is cool, but it's not really enough money. And also we haven't committed probably full time to really like slinging this thing out there and getting it off the ground. But I do think that I'm interested in figuring out, like, is it a valuable take to raise money for this? And kind of just being pretty open in terms of like financially what makes the most sense to this. $25,000 doesn't pay me, it doesn't pay Riley, it does pay actually Riley, it doesn't pay me. And so it just goes to show, like, how do we go to make more money so that Riley can make more money, so we can hire more people, so we can hire marketing, so we can hire developers, because I know that they probably cost a lot of money. And so yeah, that's probably the biggest ask, is like if there's any good ideas for that, or do we just keep selling a ton of cookies and keep bootstrapping it? So, which is what we've done in the past.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.